Hello and welcome to the Lost Air podcast. I'm here with Paul, as usual. And today we are joined by one third of Czarface. We're joined by Esoteric. Eso, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with us. This is our
for sure.
first attempt at doing interviews. We've been doing podcasts for a couple of years, and we've been doing radio shows and live TV shows and stuff like that for a while, but we never sat down with anybody. And we decided, we put together a little hit list of people that we wanted to sit down with, and you were amongst the top contenders. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, well, if you put Elvis at the top, it's not going to happen. I told him that.
So let's get into it here. So Czarface is yourself, Esoteric, 7L, and Inspecta Deck, and you've been around for a long time. But whose brainchild was this project? Is it one person, or was it more of something that you guys talked about for a while?
Well, I would say that the idea of making a record together with 7L and Deck, that was initially 7L's idea. Because I wouldn't have been so delusional or crazy to think that Inspecta Deck was going to entertain making a whole album with me, even though we had worked together in the past and had a good relationship. I just figured that idea was a little bit out of reach. But 7L thought we could make an album and make a real low key record, put it out like on a test press, like a white label joint with really not a lot of information to kind of make it a mysterious release.
Yeah.
That would maybe appeal to, the real heads and the diggers and the, people that collect vinyl. And it would be a nice a treat for someone like, oh, wow, these guys made a record and didn't promote it. And that was the original idea. But as we started to record and started making songs and Deck was pretty enthusiastic about making an album, and the first album, and it was coming together pretty well. And then DJ Premier, got on board, and I kind of said, we got to do more with this and make it, put something behind it that I think a lot of that will make the record stand out or make it somewhat different. And we kicked around names and everything. And Deck had, we said, let's call ourselves the Bomb Techs, like bomb technicians and bomb techs. And I was like, hey, that's a pretty dope name. And the fact that he suggested it, I was like, word, we could be the Bomb Techs. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, I want to have a mascot, some type of a character represent us, something that's kind of bigger than the three of us that people could kind of identify our music with. Yeah. And I came up with the name Czarface, and I worked with L'Amour Supreme, the artist, on creating the character. And that was all in motion before I pitched the idea to Deck.
All right, cool.
And in the back of my mind, and I spoke about it with 7L, I was like, well, I really love this name Czarface, but I don't want to, run it by Deck because, Ghostface, and there might be some type of a thing like, oh, is it too much like Ghostface? And is that going to upset him? It couldn't have been further from the truth. And now, the two of us have got into arguments with who actually came up with the name, me and Deck, and, sending each other screenshots of old emails and texts and all types of shit.
Claiming it.
But, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, man. And I had spoken to L'Amour Supreme, and I told L'Amour what we were looking for, and how the visual, what I really wanted to have, and I wanted it to lean on a lot of Jack Kirby creations, have a cosmic element, and L'Amour came up with what you see. In your background there, which
we have a couple of them behind me. Yeah,
that's great.
I have more.
They were there. I wasn't set up for the interview or anything. He just forgot they were there.
No, they're always there. They're always there. Actually, weirdly enough, because this one. This is I'm going to drop a lot of action figures now. This one in particular is near and dear to my heart because it's I grew up with the kind of book and show or book and record style thing. So this is like your comic book. And the LP is in there to have the sound, the kind of soundtrack behind it. And I actually have a bunch of the Planet of the Apes ones downstairs in frames, hanging in my bathroom. And I was supposed to bring them up just so we could do it side by side. And I just haven't had time to go to the bathroom all evening. Because we recorded a podcast just before this. So that one is near and dear to my heart. It's going to fall, though, isn't it?
Well,
stay there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's
like this
that
is
was a big.
That was a big deal when I seen that coming out, because it was such a nostalgic trip for me, because I remember getting like the Masters of the Universe cassettes with the little books, and then I remembered that my parents would buy me the 7 inches when I was a kid, like the Planet of the Apes ones and stuff like that. And like the whole Czarface idea, like when I think of the concept behind having this kind of one unified kind of cartoon character, like I've got Czarface in one hand, I've got gorillas in the other. Like it's not that often that you come across somebody or an act that creates this character that's going to take the forefront. Like you guys' names are thrown around in the Czarface thing, but people talk about Czarface. They talk about this cartoon, this comic book character. They don't talk about 7L, Esoteric Deck. They talk about Czarface, and it's only the people who, when they start getting into it. Like, I didn't know it was you and Deck and 7L when I first heard Czarface. I just thought it was some dude sampling Doctor Doom Fantastic Four cartoons. I'm messing around with a synthesizer and loops, and I was like, this is amazing. Because it was it was around the time where I'd kind of fallen out of hip-hop, because I was sick of listening to kind of sad boy stuff and trap and mumble stuff. I was like, there's no good hip-hop anymore. I fell into that normal middle-aged stupid idiot thing.
I didn't say that, even though I felt it. I felt if I say that, I'll sound super old, so I just said nothing. And
then I heard Czarface. I don't know where I heard it. I couldn't tell you where I heard it first. It was like, this sounds like it's made by people who like the stuff I like. Like this is the music. This is people who like Wu-Tang, people who like Ice-T. This is all the stuff that I like big bombastic samples. This has got this KRS-One vibe to it. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, there's actually 3 people that like, because I had heard of you and 7L before, just from reading forums about kind of battle rap stuff, and you guys, like you in particular, being from up and around kind of Boston and stuff, and it was a big deal to like know that there was 3 names, and one guy from Wu-Tang Clan. He was obviously he's the worm on the hook for the kind of casuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And then they come in and they hear like kind of what 7L is doing musically, and like your style is so. Your flow
good,
is so
really good.
Really,
don't leave
really
it hanging
good.
like that. You can't leave that.
I'm trying to think of the right word. But it stands out really well. Like sometimes you hear with some duos that they're so similar to each other. Sometimes you have to listen really carefully. They're like, hey, which one is that? Which guy is that? But like
the Hall or is Oates?
Exactly, yeah. But you can tell you 2 guys apart really, really distinctly, and because of that, it makes for just a better musical combination.
It does.
So I absolutely like you guys were a little flair for me in a dark hip hop period in my life.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I kind of needed to hear that at that time. I was like, oh, okay, I can latch on to the difference.
A big difference.
As you had said, the casual fans, if they really like Czarface, they might say something like, "Yo, like Czarface is one of my favorite rappers," you know, and it's obviously me and Deck. So when I see somebody, I love having fans that don't know, as you had said, that don't know me and 7L's prior work, or don't know that this is a Wu-Tang general on every song with me, and they just look at it as a lot of people that I've spoken to seem to look at us as kind of an anomaly, in the sense that people that pick up the Czarface records, they don't, not everyone, but a lot of people might think it's like a new group, and it is kind of new. But we are, we're old school artists, really. I mean, I'm not as old as Deck, but and when people say, "Yo, Czarface," I love Czarface. He is dope on the mic. In my mind, I'm like, I wonder if they're talking about me or Deck. They're probably talking about Deck there. And then I start wrestling with that. But no, it's we're very fortunate to have a fan base that it doesn't completely hinge on our past.
No, it's a new entity. Yeah, it's a great concept.
When we started listening to that, obviously because we're like nerds and in a lockdown and all that, we went digging, and I just found this Esoteric versus Gary Newman thing, and it just instantly had to listen to it straight away because I'm a massive Gary Newman fan, and I was just thinking, what made you choose Gary Newman or how did that come about? Like, it's just such a great idea.
Oh, well, thanks. I just, I always loved Gary Newman's music, but I didn't, and his themes, his lyrics, everything about, everything that Gary Newman and Jubei Army brings to the table, from that whole era, from probably late 70s to the mid 80s, I just ate it up for a long time. And then when I started making my own beats, started producing, 7-0 was always the producer for everything that we did. But around 2005 or so, I started, dabbling in it more and getting more comfortable making beats.
Yep.
And I had a lot of Gary Newman records around. And I started rapping it at different tempos at that time. And it was nothing that I had done before. And I was like, wow, I really love all this shit. I'm just going to keep making songs with samples from Gary Newman. And obviously we couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
So it was a giveaway. And that was a fun time in our career, or my career. Like, I really enjoyed, from top to bottom, making that record was, a lot of fun. And one of those things on my bucket list is to, actually collaborate with Gary Newman one day. And we flirted with that idea here and there. And
he seems pretty accessible now on Instagram. Maybe I could be wrong, but he's kind of has this whole.
You're wrong. You're very wrong.
Really? like sub to my Patreon. You can come and talk to me. We can have chats and stuff. Maybe you have to pay like high tier Patreon shit for that.
Yeah, there was a period that he was. Well, I'm not on the Patreon or anything, but there was a period where he was doing maybe like a Kickstarter or one of the crowdsourced releases. And if you had a certain amount if you put whatever, maybe like $5,000 to the project, Gary Newman would do, maybe a hook for you or produce something for you or something like that. But at that point in time, like $5,000 was just way out of reach, and it was just unreasonable for me to even consider. But now I would absolutely love to bring him into the fold on a Czarface record, and I've had chances to interview him. And I backed out because I wasn't actually sure whether he had ever heard that mixtape I did. And I didn't want. I knew that the guy from the local publication in Boston thought it would be cute for me to interview Gary Newman, since I was a big fan and I made that thing. I didn't want the guy to lead into the whole thing. Go on Gary Newman's tour bus. He was like, this is the guy who's going to interview you. He's robbed all your songs and made things, and made them into hip hop songs. Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've an interview with his lawyer instead. You're like, who are you? I'm Gary Newman's lawyer. I'll be conducting the rest of this interview.
Something like that, right? And I just feel like, I was like, I'm just going to go to the show. It was like one of those things where you could interview him before the show. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to pass on that, and I'm going to just go to the show. And what a show. There was, and I was by myself. I didn't go with any friends. I just went, by myself. And I seldom go to, now we're not going to any concerts, of course, but seldom would go to a concert, just alone. And it was a great way to see a show just by yourself and kind of.
Yeah, you don't get anybody interrupting you and stuff. I love that.
Yeah. It's great. So you've done records with Doom and with Ghostface in the past. Yeah. And I've seen that you've hinted that you may do another Meats record at some stage. Is that still planned?
Yeah, there's a few different things that I can't talk about now, but
Of course.
the I would love to break news here.
Yeah.
But you know, 2021 is a lot of the things that are going to come out in 2021 were supposed to come out in 2020, and you know, with the coronavirus and everything, that has set a lot of things back, and including pressing plants for vinyl and but our output that's coming soon.
You have stuff. Okay.
This year, I hope you guys will like it, and it's we're not announcing anything just yet, but we're very happy with what we've got coming down the pipeline.
Because I have my fingers crossed for a Meets Dr. Octagon. That's for a Kill Keith crossover, but simply because Kill Keith is on Instagram selling bars for $16 right now. He's doing.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
Because I'm missing a bit of one of my songs. I'm like,
there you go. If you've got $16 spare, he will throw 16 bars at you, man. No problem. Like, he's literally on his Instagram story selling bars. Like, it's crazy. I don't know who he has representing him. It's just some woman with giant tits, I assume. And he's just selling himself. It's amazing. So it means Cool Keith is accessible to everybody right now.
That's far cheaper than Gary Newman.
Yeah, definitely. But I've personally, I'd love to see a Dr. Octagon crossover.
I'll say this that I do have some records with Keith that haven't been heard. And he's one of my favorite rappers, one of the most influential rappers,
100%
of all time. There's if I were to have a Mount Rushmore of hip hop artists that influenced me, he would certainly be there. I
definitely.
think it's tough because I think with when you say Mount Rushmore, I think it comes down to like four MCs or whatever. So it's
an
tricky,
impossible choice.
Yeah, but Keith is there, and I would love to make a full record with Keith and Deck and 7L and make that type of a project. And as I said, I can't break any news. Of course, here,
we'll wait. We'll wait.
I'm just saying that you can't rule that out.
Okay, that's sold. So one of the things I want to talk about is your merchandise game is crazy. You guys have it nailed. Like, t-shirt designs are insane, hoodie designs are insane. Like, you're only behind Kiss and the Misfits in terms of like releasing Czarface shoelaces. Like, we're getting close to that level. It's really, really strong. And you guys have moved into action figures now. So you've got your V2 Czarface action figure from Super 7 as well, due out soon.
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
It's just funny that you said Czarface shoelaces. That's all.
Oh, okay.
I'll leave it at that.
All right.
But so about the Super 7 figure.
Yeah. So is that a world you want to expand upon? Like, you want to do Czarface play sets and vehicles and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah,
that's everything I love. I mean, I'm very much
nice
into.
I've got some Joe up here as well. We've got some G.I. Joe up here as well.
Yeah.
Up top.
Yeah. Oh, that's dope. That's dope. I mean, I have Jabba here. Jabba is like a spiritual advisor for me.
Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff in that in the General Zod video. There's so much great stuff in that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. See, about that, whenever somebody references the Gary Newman album, mixtape, whatever you want to call it, I always forget that we did that video and that it's out there. And this Cobra Commander.
Yeah, that's reminded me of it.
Yeah. It's strange. For some reason, I blocked that video out of my mind. Maybe because it's associated with Gary Newman and none of those samples are cleared. And that was a fun era. Yeah. When we did that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go shoot a video for this and bring out some old toys and so forth. But to get back to the question, the Super 7 collaboration with the action figures is a real dream come true. Hip hop as a career for me is at its peaks and valleys, but the fact that it's been able to open doors into worlds where I can write something for Marvel, like, some type of a comic book for Marvel, or put out action figures that are 3 3/4 inch, just like the Star Wars figures that gave me such peace and solace growing up. And, when everything around me was just terror.
Yeah.
I could really escape with comic books, action figures, and so forth, and the G.I. Joe stuff. All of those things really helped me through life, believe it or not. And being able to create our own.
That's a big deal. And you guys have you have a graphic novel coming out as well, don't you? You got the origin of Czarface due out in a while. That looks really cool. I was looking at that. It comes with a 7-inch, and you've got like a little kind of vinyl toy and stuff. So that's again, your merchandise game is bananas. A Christmas tree lights have to be next.
Well, you can't download an action figure. You can't stream a T-shirt.
Yep.
You can't and those type of things. We take the vinyl game pretty seriously as well, and all those things that we grew up with, we like to keep alive. And having something tangible like that means something to people. Just like you, when you said, "Wow, I grew up with the Power records and the Peter Pan records." Those records, like the Power records, those are the things that inspired us to make those.
Absolutely.
But and we just thought it was impossible to execute. But then I was like, wait a sec, I'm going to write the story. 7L, you do the production, and we're gonna make it happen, and we have, and there's more of those on the way.
Great, cool.
Soon. So if you like the vinyl with the comic books, that is more coming, and it's not associated with the graphic novel. That's a separate thing.
Yeah, because those guys are doing, I think, the Cypress Hill. They're doing something for Cypress Hill at the moment as well. The same company. So yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see. First of all, it's great to see a group that has a singular fictional character as their front man, essentially. And then it's great to see somebody take the idea and the principles of historically what you do to one of these characters and just impress it upon hip hop. So we're going to have action figures. We're going to have, listen along 7 inches. We've got like comic books. It's amazing to see, and it's firing on all cylinders for me personally. Yeah. See, I'm a 40-year-old man child. Like this room
I see that.
is like half of it's covered, and there's walls upon walls of Star Wars toys, Masters of the Universe toys, like Transformers, just garbage stuff that I want to be buried with. I don't own a house, but I want to be. I want to be a modern day pharaoh and bury me with all my cool shit. That's what I want.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, man. And I wonder, my mind is working here, and I'm wondering if you have some type of. And in that collection, if there are any European variants or
almost
Irish
certainly
that I've never seen, and that's
almost
cool
certainly somewhere. Definitely in. What would we have had over here? Definitely in Star Wars.
Did you get different DIG?
Well, we had Action Force. It was Action Force originally over here.
That's what it was.
That's right.
So I've got Action Force toys there. Yeah, 100%. Star Wars.
I suppose our Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Yeah, we didn't have Ninja Turtles. We had Hero.
Wasn't allowed. We're allowed to say the word ninja over here. Well, we didn't say it, but
apparently in the UK, the word ninja was used as like a racial slur in the late 80s, early 90s. So
really?
I don't think it was racial slur. I think it was more just like it's basically it was like calling them Teenage Mutant Hitman Turtles. So they were like, "Oh, that's a bit harsh." Marketing was like, "I don't know."
Well, to be fair, when I was a kid, I went looking for turtles and got covered in leeches in the sewer. So anybody who did go looking for turtles or trying to do turtle stuff was put off it pretty quickly, I think. But yeah, I have a bunch of turtle stuff here as well. I actually got Rat King and Leatherhead in the mail last week, which is a big deal.
Oh wow! Oh yeah. I had just I was speaking to Buster Moody, who is one of the artists that contributed a Czarface print to that graphic novel, and he does a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic art. So, and I was telling him how in like 84, I went to meet Eastman and Laird at a comic book shop here in Massachusetts in Cambridge called the Millionaire Picnic. And I bought the #1 issue, and it was the first time I ever saw like a silver Sharpie. Yeah. Because I feel like it was, but they both signed it. I don't have it anymore, foolishly. Yeah. But that was when they first came out. It was just it felt It felt like, okay, there's Spider-Man, there's Batman, there's Wolverine, Superman, all these iconic characters from DC and Marvel, but then these Ninja Turtles. Wow. Look at this.
The whole books. Yeah, the Mirage stuff is crazy. Like, it's so different. Speaking of Marvel and DC, I know in a lot of your rhymes, you talk an awful lot about Marvel stuff, but DC a little, but not as much. It's safe to say that you're more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy then?
I don't think so. I think just it's just how the rhymes come together. You know what I mean?
Better names.
Yeah, I don't know, because on DC you got Martian Manhunter and Gorilla Grodd, and there's a lot of DC lyrics in our albums. Like I remember on our album A Fistful of Peril, there's a song called Talk That Talk, and I was in the studio with Deck, and Deck's writing this rhyme, and I'm waiting for him to finish the rhyme. He's like, "This rhyme is for you, man. I'm doing this for you. This is the Esto rhyme." And I said, "Okay, all right." And then he went in the booth and he starts the rhyme like, "I'm cold like Leonard Snart." And Leonard Snart is Captain Cold or whatever, or is it Mr. Freeze? Oh, jeez, Captain Cold. No, it's Mr. Freeze.
Leonard is Mr. Freeze, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a DC guy, and I could tell you a lot of DC references we make in the songs. However, Marvel has been better to us personally. Okay. So I wrote a story for Marvel about Nightcrawler in a holiday, in an X-Men holiday special, and we were actually they put a Czarface interview and photograph at the back of a Black Panther.
Oh wow!
Issue Black Panther issue #6, and we did music promote the actual comic book when Ta-Nehisi Coates was writing his initial Black Panther. So we've had a lot of great relationships with Marvel throughout the years, and all of these characters have, provided a lot of joy for us. And having a son who's 12 now, he's gone through his whole life of just worshiping Batman and Bane and, Venom and Spider-Man. Yeah. So he goes to DC and he goes to Marvel, and whatever your son likes, he got me to like the Star Wars prequels when before I never really, they weren't my favorite thing when they came out. But then I see how passionate he is about Darth Maul, and he even likes Jar Jar Binks, and I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, you like that? Okay,
we'll go with it. Yeah, we'll go with it.
Yeah. So these type of things, they when I'm writing rhymes or whatever, they just come off the tongue. Of course.
I wanted to ask. We were talking about earlier about like sample clearance and all, and how kind of a murky river that is and stuff like that. And this is something I've always wanted to ask people in hip hop. Actually, weirdly, came from a random conversation I had in Dublin with Coolio, of all people.
Oh wow!
Okay. Talking to Coolio randomly, I kind of was like at a lull to know what to say, because he doesn't need to talk to me. He's okay. He's fine. He's cool. He's cool enough guy. And I was like, "So you working on anything good?" just ran out of things to say. And he's like, "I really want to sample Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin." I went, "Really? You're going to actually do that?" He goes, "Absolutely not. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen." So that kind of made me start thinking, like, when you see Dr. Dre being sued by like Lucasfilm and stuff like that, what would if you got carte blanche to take like an IP or something into either samples or anything, what would be your holy grail if you could just get away with taking some sort of either even could be sample of music or it could be any kind of IP to take into your music and go, right, holy shit, I got one time to take this and it's free and I can release it commercially?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to give an honest answer, I don't know. It's a.
Sorry.
I don't know. No, it's great. It's something to think about. I think of Tom Sawyer's Rush. Rush is Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. There's a lot going on there you could use. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just crazy. No.
Even just the opening bar.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Just take that.
I'm talking about like the first 8 bars of that shit. It's just like, oh man,
that'd be killer. Yeah.
And there are people that have sampled that, I think, along the way, but nothing that I really remember. But I know it's been used in I'm trying to think. I'd like to say some of the John Williams compositions from anything from Star Wars to E.T. to Indiana Jones, but then again,
Jurassic Park. You could do Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It's
Actually,
funny,
I have to commend you on your pun game.
It's amazing.
Saving Seamus Ryan and the odds are against us. It's good. We love good puns. Love good puns.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, when you said carte blanche earlier, I was like, Zart Blanche. I started thinking about Zart Blanche. Does that work? So I'm always thinking about things like that.
Absolutely.
And,
do a Star Trek one and do set phasers to stun. There you go.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
We can't keep saying them though because
I know that's an hour later.
And we'll ruin them all then. Yeah.
Well, let me say this then, because the play on words with the Czar stuff, I get a lot of DMs, comments, or whatever, with people saying, do this or do that, and I'm like, I already thought of that.
Yeah.
Don't claim it because I already thought of that.
No.
We have our podcast. We have our podcast for the next 6 months lined up. So when someone suggests something, we're like, oh, that's coming in a month, and now it looks like you told us to do that, and we're going to do that. Well, and it takes it away from me. Yeah.
And there are comic book writers on Twitter like Dan Slott, who was written Spider-Man. And Silver Surfer and all that stuff. He tells fans, like, I will block you if you give me an idea, if you pitch me an idea, because the second you say something and then I put it into motion, whether I thought of it or not, it becomes...
Yeah, you're slightly... It can be...
I used to be involved in some comic conventions over here, so we'd end up going out drinking with a bunch of these Marvel and DC writers, and I ended up becoming good friends with CB Cebulski, who ended up running the show for a while, and I still talk to CB from time to time. And it was one of those things where every now and again we'd start talking about, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And every time you'd shut the fuck up, shut up, tell me straight, please just stop. Please just
because they are good ideas, but you will eventually get around to them. You could have better ones in the meantime. But there is something slightly taken away from it. There's a shine taken off what could have been if someone suggested. Because then when you put it out, all you can think about is that person going, that was my idea.
Yeah, that's my idea. Yeah, exactly. So guys, what we're going to do is we're going to finish up part 1 of the interview now, and we'll be back in 2 minutes with part 2.